It's been a while, but we're back again, and we have two champions. One called Clifton the Rugged, and another one called Sayriel, the one in the dark. Clifton the Rugged. His passive is basically really connected to his Q. If you can't use Q, he can't do anything with his passive. Anyways, after 3 basic attacks, his Q becomes empowered. Basically, he can swipe. This is Q. This is a swipe, and then after the swipe, 3 daggers will fly out as well. If any of the daggers hit any of the enemy champions or enemies in general, a sword mark will come up top of their head. That sword mark will stay there for 4 seconds, and that gives him chances to kind of put more swords on there because his Q will have a short cooldown, and if he can get as many basic attacks as he wants, he can do it as many times as he wants as well. Because it will reset after every third basic attack as well, his Q. The cooldown will completely reset, and he can do it over and over again. So if you're smart, you'll do 2 basic attacks, do your Q, and then do a third, do your Q, and that time the swords will happen. I know, but you can just get your Q off 2 times in a row. You might not be able to get the swords off, but anyways. So, after that 4 seconds, any amount of swords will kind of dig down into the person who the marks are on top of. They will basically deal way more damage than what was happening before. Basically, kind of a bleed, but happens at one time instead of in a duration. So, actually not a lot of damage, but you know what I mean. More than, yeah. Anyways. His W is he bush cuts. So during this time, he can cut bushes around him, basically making it so they're gone. People can't hide in him anymore. That will happen. So he can cut bushes and they'll stay cut for 30 seconds until they're regrown, because magical properties or something, They'll grow fast. Anyways, but he has 30 seconds where they will not even be there at all, so no one can hide in them, which can be kind of bad, but which can be kind of good at the same time. But here's where his E comes into play. His E is he gains increasing movement speed. After movement speed, his first basic attack will also stun an enemy champion. But behind him, while he's running, he'll leave a trail of bush for 2.5 seconds. 2.5 seconds! Yes, which means he can put a new bush over the old bush. You're like, why would he do that? Because even if he's moving around in his new bush, only allies can see him. Enemies who walk into the new bush, which it will be a little different so people will know, but they will be scared because they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if he's in there or not. So they can't see him. So there's that. And you can create it over an old bush. We'll make it like, oh my gosh, I'll just walk into the bush. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm dead. Anyways, his ultimate is he creates a jungle around him. Now, it's not going to be huge, but it's still going to be a jungle. Now, the cool thing about this little jungle around him is that it actually limits everyone from seeing their own health bar, except for you, of course. So everyone can't see you, and they can't see their own health bar, so they're kind of wigging out. They're like, oh my gosh, am I going to die? Or, I came in as full health. I should be fine, until you're like, oh my gosh, I'm dying. Anyways, he will be seen once he attacks somebody, but he can go re-invisible after a second, yeah. And then, therefore, he can go attack him, a second, attack, a second, attack, a second, and stuff like that. And the health bar will flicker kind of when he's being attacked, when he's attacking someone. So someone will kind of be able to see their health bar. When he leaves, the health bar comes invisible again, and, whatever. When the jungle leaves, basically during this time, the ultimate, he will place a sword on for every attack that he's given them during the time. So yeah, although their health bar will flicker, and so it's kind of it defeats the purpose. After the ultimate leaves, the swords will then inflict more damage, which kind of makes it again, once the thing leaves, you're like, oh crap, how much health do I have? Will I have enough to defend against the ultimate leaving? So yes, there's that little thing you have to think about. So that is Clifton the Rugged. Now we have Sayriel, the dark one. The one in the dark. So his passive is, yes, similar to someone else's you might know. After a short delay, if he's standing in one place, he can become invisible, but here's the kicker. Once he starts moving, he has 2 seconds to do whatever he wants while he's invisible. After he's invisible, he fears any nearby enemies around him. This has a 30-second cooldown before he can do it again. His Q is that he wrenches people. So this guy has a big monkey wrench. So he'll swing around, and if he attacks any champions, targeting champions, minions will just be hit, but champions will be wrenched onto and tighten around them. And then his second Q cast, or basically wherever he moves his cursor, they will be swung around. If he hits them into a wall, doing more damage, and it stuns them as well. What? No way! His W is Skull Crusher. Basically, this thing has kind of like 3 little acts upon it. So he'll hit them one time. If anybody's hit in that little area attack, especially a champion, he'll wrench upon their head, tightening it again, doing a little bit of damage, and then whack them again on the ground with the wrench and the head. That would really hurt, doing a lot of damage. Yeah, anyways, kind of dope. His E has a passive. He gains attack speed and movement speed for feared enemies around him. So he can kind of go up to them and he can kind of get some damage and stuff done. As well as his active. His active, although has 2 little things, one of them is kind of like, oh, well, kind of defeats the purpose or whatever, Yeah. His passive is E. Sorry, his active is his E will take away 15 seconds of his passive. So if it's at 30 seconds and you just use E, then boom, it's at 15 seconds. So and you're kind of like, oh, well, why don't you just make the passive 15 seconds then? Well, because his E also does something else. He gains a shield that turns slowly. Like, instead of decaying, it turns slowly into his own health. So, kind of 2 things there. His ultimate is he resets his passive completely. But this passive becomes kind of empowered. He has as much time as he wants to be able to kind of position himself to where he wants to be. After he recasts his ultimate, okay, so he doesn't have all the time in the world. He has like 5 seconds. But he still has that much time. And then he can kind of recast to be able to do a large fear. After this, he gains double passive on his E, increasing his movement speed and attack speed, as well as decreasing all CC by 50%, making him basically unstoppable. Yes. As well as it kind of increases the stats of all his abilities, increasing also his shield for his E and his passive cooldown. So basically, if he uses E, he can also just reset his passive entirely and to go invisible again. So that's his ultimate, going into the dark or something, So freaking wicked. Am I right? 724, 725, 726. That is Sayriel, One in the Dark, and Clifton the Rugged.